This year saw full energy pulsing through the VFW, its auxiliary, and the proud memberships. From the start, with Vincent B.J. Lawrence being sworn in as Commander-in-Chief, he generated excitement as he called for a year where we'd make it happen.
I stand before you humbled to be able to say that I am your Commander-in-Chief of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, and together we will make it happen.
The 119th National Convention convened at the home of the VFW National Headquarters, Kansas City, Missouri. Members of the VFW worked diligently to name its organizational priorities for the ensuing year, and were treated to a great time as country superstar Trace Adkins came to Municipal Auditorium to give attendees a complimentary honky-tonk experience led by his hit music. Lawrence and the VFW have delivered on the promise to make it happen over the last year, working nonstop as a force and voice for America's veterans. When the VA failed to uphold the critical intent of the VA Mission Act legislation, VFW Commander Lawrence went before a joint hearing of the Senate and House of Representatives in March to urge immediate action.
VA has elected to largely ignore the views of the nation's largest war veterans organization when drafting rules to implement the VA Mission Act. VA executive leadership should be embarrassed that they have discontinued VA's strong collaborative relationship with the VFW and instead chose to make arbitrary decisions without consulting those who most intimately understand VA's mission and the needs of the veterans community. VA must discontinue the practice of ignoring the veteran service community when making such important decisions.
We went before the U.S. House of Representatives in November to address issues with VA disability assistance and handling of sexual trauma cases, outlining the inefficiencies within the VA and how redundant appointments create more trauma for victims as they have to recall their abuse over and over. We fought to keep the roof over student veterans and their families' heads when the VA fell dramatically behind on GI Bill benefit payments. We called for fast action when the government shut down over discourse on how to spend to secure the border. As a new generation of veterans experiences the ill effects of open burn pit toxins, the VFW has refused to let our nation's defenders sustain their maladies as long as their predecessors did with Agent Orange. This year, 2 VFW advocates drafted the Burn Pits Accountability Act, which called for the Department of Defense to up the standard of preventative care and assessment of service members stationed in areas with burn pits and automatically place them on Burn Pit Registry. We challenged the decade-old legislation stripping support to Blue Water Navy veterans who didn't set foot on dry land but worked on exposed ships. Although Congress failed to pass the Blue Water Navy legislation in 2018, the VFW never backed down and joined together in action to push for the care our country owes Vietnam veterans again in 2019. Through action alerts and testimonies and our relentless pursuit for injustice, we saw passage of the Blue Water Navy Act of 2019, a major victory in protecting and expanding the benefits of some 90,000 Vietnam veterans. We nurtured patriotism among middle and high school students throughout the country during the Voice of Democracy and Patriots Pen contests. Who better to embody the vitality of the VFW this year than inspired loyal youth participating in the annual competitions? Sponsored by the VFW Post 554 and its auxiliary in Somerset, Pennsylvania, senior Christine Troll took first place out of 40,000 high school students with her essay, Why My Vote Matters, becoming the 72nd winner and recipient of a $30,000 scholarship in the Voice of Democracy contest. In her speech, Troll looked to the future and the honor of being in a democracy where she has a voice.
Next year, thanks to those who have fought and fallen for my freedom, my vote will be counted in the polls. And it won't just count, it will matter. Thank you.
For the Patriots Pen theme of Why I Honor the American Flag, Daniel Rodriguez placed first and proudly held his $5,000 check between VFW National Commander B.J. Lawrence and VFW Auxiliary President Sandy Kriebel. Rodriguez was sponsored by VFW Post 2066 in Nogales, Arizona. He carried forth the message representing so many veterans as he explained the ideals the flag stands for. A dream that refuses to die, a way of life worth fighting for. An astounding $209,000 were proudly given through scholarships and awards during the 2019 VFW Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. As our bravest continually protect the American way of life and our freedoms, they're subjected to the physical, mental, and psychological hardships war brings. The VFW continue to work to support their well-being through programs to identify and heal mental health illnesses. The VFW community again came together through the Mental Wellness Campaign to change the stigma surrounding mental health and spread knowledge of resources for veterans to cope, marking the initiative's third year of involvement in a day to change direction. We hosted interactive Facebook Live events this year to educate veterans about the healthcare offerings through virtual video appointments, the VA's mental health services, and resources for suicide prevention. Veterans who tuned in had access to thorough information from the facilitators while having questions answered in real time. Like many years before, 2018 was not without natural disaster. And when Hurricanes Florence and Michael wreaked havoc, the country turned to the VFW for assistance, not only for veterans, but for other Americans facing the tragedy. The VFW answered the call, mobilizing generous efforts in aid. VFW Post 7383 and 10555 set up to receive and distribute donated items like bottled water, diapers, clothing, and food from people across the country, other VFW posts, and VFW members. And we're commemorating two important milestones: the 100th anniversary of our National Legislative Service and National Veterans Service programs. The VFW has had a vital role in every major legislative victory for veterans in the last 100 years, like the GI Bill, and continues to fight every day to ensure that veterans are treated fairly by the country they served. Like the VFW, National Legislative Service has evolved over the years to meet the challenges that plague our nation's veterans. And because of National Veterans Service, this year we saw the record of earned benefits granted shattered. More than 2,000 VFW expert, accredited representatives recouped $8.3 billion in disability compensation and pension benefits for veterans. Also, in the past year, we surpassed awarding $5.7 million in scholarships through the VFW Sport Clips Help a Hero Scholarship Program to nearly 1,300 military and student veterans. In a special check presentation to laud the largest donation ever collected between October and Veterans Day, Sport Clips founder and CEO Gordon Logan presented a check worth $1.35 million. We exceeded helping 10,000 veterans who had desperate need for financial assistance. And we couldn't make it happen without the patriotic support of the Burger King franchises. During the months of July and November, Burger King franchise restaurants across the country encourage patrons to donate to the VFW Unmet Needs Program while dining at their restaurants. The fundraising efforts show how powerful it is when we unite as a nation to take action for veterans in need. To date, we have granted more than $10.8 million to military families on the brink of hunger and homelessness. We lost brave military heroes and honored their contributions to our great nation. The VFW paid our respects to President George H.W. Bush, who passed November 30th, 2018, at 94 years old. He was a Navy fighter pilot in World War II in the Pacific Theater and a life member of the VFW Department of Texas. Senator John McCain passed on August 25, 2018. He was a brave naval aviator, prisoner of war for 5.5 years, and a respected congressman. He was also a 32-year life member of VFW Post 7401 in Chandler, Arizona. We honored our extensive history as the largest organization defending veterans and positioned ourselves for the future by freshening up our look this year with a bold new design. Making it happen on the Hill, we continued developing capable legislative leaders this year by sending the 5th class of 10 student veterans to Washington, D.C. The VFW Student Veterans of America Fellows submitted policy proposals on student veteran success on campus and beyond. improving veterans' health care and benefits, transitioning from military to civilian life, and challenges for service members and military families. When President Trump was heading to the Singapore summit, the VFW urged his priority to be a discussion on the return of remains from the Korean and Cold Wars. 5,300 remains are still unaccounted for, and our nation was successful in talks for a peaceful arrangement and return of 55 sets of remains. Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency Director Kelly McKeag presented an American flag which had been draped over one of the 55 transfer cases of American remains to VFW Executive Director Bob Wallace as a symbol of gratitude for the VFW's long-standing commitment to bringing our fallen rightfully back home. Commander Lawrence traveled near and far to partner with members of the 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team from Fort Riley. The VFW commander witnessed the group's pre-deployment training in California at the National Army Training Center, the only center where live-fire exercises take place in the U.S. He then traveled to Europe to embed with the group while deployed. Yes, it was a year of change, a year of intense energy, and a year of growth. For the first time in nearly 3 decades, the organization is celebrating growth in its membership numbers, a testament to the leadership of Commander Lawrence and of all the members who worked so diligently to make it happen. But our work is far from over. We must remain ever vigilant in achieving our mission. The stage has been set, the groundwork laid for even more victories for veterans. We will continue to stand united in preserving our America and protecting the interests of every proud veteran. We are the veterans of foreign wars, where no one does more for veterans.